I think I'm going to change how I envisioned it originally, because I think we've gotten into an area where Dr. Gordon has some expertise, so we'll kind of go from there, and then people with more expertise about kids will be talking. So, Dr. Gordon, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. I'm a clinical psychiatrist. I practice in a nonprofit based in Framingham that provides services to people with pretty severe psychiatric and other emotional and developmental problems. I also treat regular folks as well. And I'm one of your neighbors. My wife, Julie, and I have lived in Natick for 30 years. And, you know, I make a comment about Newtown and about this whole issue with kind of a heavy heart. This was an absolute catastrophe, obviously. You know, our hearts go out to the families of everyone who was affected. But this was a special catastrophe for people with mental illness. People with mental illness are really cringing in the face of these events. And I worry very much that we may learn the wrong lessons about mental illness from these events. The fact of the matter is that the vast majority of people with mental illness, even major mental illness, by which I mean schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, are not violent at all. They're no more violent than anyone else. And they're much, much more likely to be victims of violence than perpetrators of violence. There's a very small number of people with mental illness, with major mental illness, for whom violence is a severe problem. And for those people, the greatest predictor of violence is a history of violence. Actually, there are three major factors. One is a history of violence. The second is active substance abuse. And the third is alienation from treatment or not receiving treatment. So it's very important, if there's any way possible, for treaters and other people who are responsible for working with people with severe problems to know about their histories in detail. Because if we know about a history of violence, then we can take a lot of proactive steps to prevent its recurrence. Similarly, if a person is actively using substances, we can encourage sobriety. The third leg of the stool clearly is providing good, accessible treatment. Now here's where the rub is. Because one of the greatest obstacles to treatment is stigma. Is that people who have problems and issues feel humiliated and ashamed of acknowledging these problems. And the more difficulty we place on people receiving treatment, the more people are likely to go underground. So I fear that in the wake of this catastrophe and other similar catastrophes that are still fresh in all of our minds, like the events in Aurora, Colorado, or Jared Lochner's attempted murder of Gabby Giffords, that people may think, gee, the answer has got to be to force people with major mental illness to take treatment. And from my point of view, that is an absolutely incorrect strategy. The more force we apply, the more likely people are to go underground and avoid treatment. It's also true that a lot of people with major mental illness are extremely wary of treatment. And that's because many of them have received very bad treatment. They've had medications forced upon them that were very painful for them. So if we want more people to receive treatment, it's vital that we make that treatment accessible, friendly, kind, neighborly, and non-shaming. So that's my number one pitch. My second pitch is, all that aside, I've never felt more hopeful about mental illness in my 40 years of practice. There really is excellent treatment available. And there are excellent supports available, not just from the conventional pathway, but also from new pathways, like there's a whole new reality of what are called certified peer specialists, These are people who have had mental illness or are still struggling with it, who are in a state of recovery and make themselves available, much like a person with a lot of sobriety in AA makes themselves available to a person who's suffering. This is a great source of hope. So I also mentioned that here in our community, there are some really fantastic resources. The psychiatric emergency service at my company, Advocates, which is based in Framingham, is available 24/7, 365. We would love to hear from anyone with a problem, with a family member with a problem, or even someone with a concern. Be very happy to help you or help that person get connected to the kind of services that I'm talking about. Other really important resources that I'll just mention briefly are NAMI and the Samaritans. So with respect to Dave Linsky's point about the mental health exclusion, I can't really comment on the law because it's just not my expertise. But I don't see, in my own experience here in Massachusetts, much of a problem of people with mental illness having access to firearms that I don't think they should. Speaking just as a physician, and this is the last point I'll make to you, I know firearm possession is something that divides us. There are people who feel strongly on both sides. I'm just speaking as a doctor. I just want to say it is extremely dangerous to have a weapon at home. Extremely dangerous. And the combination of a weapon and mental illness is a very bad combination indeed. So, my heart goes out to Adam Lanza's mother, and I just think, what in the world are you thinking about? Having these weapons in your house with a person with emotional difficulties. So if you have weapons at home, count to 10 and decide whether or not you really want to have them there. Certainly have them under lock and key.
Dr. Gordon, thank you very much.